good day to you, everybody. My name is Bhavani and I'm the director of Nature Nudge. We are a local Singapore company and we make fresh fermented probiotic drinks and foods for you, right here artisanal and handcrafted. What we're going to do today is try and understand a few fermented foods. We've been making a series on probiotics and why probiotics are so good for you. The third video in the series was talking about why fermented foods in particular are so good for you. And there we mentioned a couple of names like natto, kimchi, kombucha, sauerkraut, and people came back and asked us what these foods were. So our fourth in the series video is to try and help you understand few of the prominent fermented foods. What we will try and do is describe them to you as best as we can. Obviously, we cannot go through all of the fermented foods that are known because there are thousands and thousands of them. We will try and describe the few prominent few to you. Hopefully, you find this video useful, and if you do, please do share it. As we tried to put this video together for you, we tried and made a map of where fresh fermented foods have originated from, and we found that almost every continent in the world has a lot of traditional fresh ferments, whether they are from Africa, Asia, Western Europe, or from Middle East, South America, North America. Every part of the world has some or the other fresh ferments that have been used for traditionally for ages and generations. The thing that you need to remember is that fresh fermented foods have three main benefits. They add to great gut bacteria, they boost minerals and vitamins that naturally occur in foods, and they create enzymes as the bacteria multiply. However, if you cook the food, obviously the probiotic benefit is lost, and to retain that probiotic benefit, the food has to be eaten raw. This is the critical thing to remember. What we will try and now look at is two examples of the salad or pickle format. The first one is kimchi. It is the most famous salad format fermented food that is now popular across the world. Its origins are in Korea, and kimchi basically is sour, spicy kind of crunchy format. It's made from Napa cabbage and other vegetables like daikon, carrots, spring onions. So basically a paste and spices are mixed together, and each of those layers of cabbage are then coated with it. This is fermented for 2 to 3 days or sometimes up to 2 weeks depending on the ambient temperature. So whether it is made in a vegan version or a normal version with fish sauce, the bacterial culture in both is approximately the same because the bacteria comes from the fruit, the vegetables which are added to it, which is basically the cabbage. There's three main types of bacteria that are there. These are the big categories of bacteria, and there are many subspecies under it, but I'm just going to talk of the big categories. Things like lactobacillus, leuconostoc, and Weissel. These are primarily found in kimchi. Because kimchi is eaten raw, it is continuing to remain a fantastic probiotic source as well. The next one, which is in the salad format, is sauerkraut. Basically, it's German origins and it means sour cabbage. It's made by finely shredding cabbage and adding salt to it. But nowadays, it can also be made with many other vegetables combined in and with spices added in for flavoring too. Okay, so it is fermented over 3 to 4 days, or depending on the temperature, it could take a few weeks for fermentation. What happens is that the lactic acid and the bacterial lactobacillus and leuconostoc, typically found in sauerkraut, will be working on the sugars that are there in the cabbage leaf, and that ferments out, and that's how this is made into a fresh fermented probiotic food. Okay, and that is how sauerkraut is made. Now, let's look at the next format, which is fermented beans. In fermented beans, we will touch on two types, which are the more unique ones. One is called natto, the other one is tempeh. So natto is a traditional Japanese dish which is made by boiling soybeans, and then the soybeans are wrapped up in rice straw. This was traditionally what was done, and rice straw has a naturally occurring bacteria called Bacillus subtilis. Now, what used to happen was that once you wrapped it in that, the fermentation took place and it converted the soybean into a sticky kind of texture, stringy, sticky kind of texture with a distinctive pungent smell and nutty flavor kind of taste. Now this bacteria is available in commercial form and in powder form, so you don't need the rice straw anymore. You can actually sprinkle it all over the soybean, the boiled soybean, and over a few days of fermentation, this is what converts and comes out. Typically, natto is had with rice and with toppings of soy sauce, mustard, chives, those kind of things. And it is had, the fermentation is done post cooking, so it still retains its probiotic benefit. Let's look at tempeh now. Tempeh is an Indonesian food, and it is like tofu, it is made from soybeans. Nowadays, it can be made from many other different beans as well, including moong, including many other types of beans. And what happens is that there is this mold called Rhizopus oligosporus, and it is a very beneficial mold. As this mold is sprinkled all over and allowed to sit with the beans, the boiled beans, it forms a kind of sticky layer between all of them and almost holds all the beans together to make it now cake like in format. Okay, this is after a couple of days of fermentation, and it is cut into slices. It can be added into stews, into curries. It can be added into salads. If it's had raw, it obviously retains its probiotic benefit, but you cook it and it loses its probiotic benefit. Now let's talk of two cereal kind of formats. One more unique one is Ethiopian injera. It is a kind of crepe which is made from teff flour. Basically, a batter is made and then it is left to ferment for a while. As that ferments, it develops great bacteria and great enzymes. But then obviously they cook it to make that crepe, and then it's a very spongy kind of texture. And on this, they directly serve the curries and the meats and the salads with which it is served in many Ethiopian restaurants and homes. So you're supposed to pull out portions directly from of the injera itself and eat it with the curry that is on top. Obviously, once it is cooked, the benefit of probiotics goes away, but it still retains its enzymatic and mineral benefits. Similar to Ethiopian injera is an Indian concept of idli and dosa. This is made with black lentils and rice, fermented, and the batter is then fermented. And as the fermentation happens, it basically breaks down the starches, and it's therefore easily metabolized by the body. This is now, you can see the dumpling format is the idli and they are steamed, whereas the crepe format is called the dosa. They are cooked, so they lose their probiotic benefit but retain their enzymatic benefit. Let's look at the most popular one that is world over known, and this is yogurt. Yogurt is really the most well-known probiotic. It is made by adding a culture initially from another yogurt, a pre-made yogurt, to milk, and overnight fermentation gives us the next round of yogurt quite seamlessly. Basically, two types of bacteria are found in a yogurt. One is called Streptococcus thermophilus and the other one is called Lactobacillus vulgaris. And these two are basically found in most yogurts. Now, if you buy them from shops and do not make them at home, please do make sure you do not buy the pasteurized version, because that kills the bacteria entirely. You should be looking at buying the unpasteurized version or making the yogurt at home. Let's look at some drinks now. There are many types of fermented drinks. The first among these to talk about is kombucha. Kombucha was actually made, its origins are almost 2000 years old, and it originates from China and basically spread its way onwards to Japan, Russia. Now it is far more popular in Europe and USA, and I think it comes from the fact that these countries tend to like sodas quite a bit, because kombucha is sweet and it's a fizzy fermented drink. It's made by fermenting tea and sugar. A decoction of tea and sugar is made, and you add something called a SCOBY to it. It's a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. Basically, it contains yeast strains like Saccharomyces, Brettanomyces, and bacterial strains like Gluconosatobacter. And this is kind of unique to kombucha. It is not so easily found in other strains of fermented drinks. Okay. Now, when the first level of fermentation is done, at the second level, various fruits or flowers or flavors are added to give that tea a nice taste. And at that point, they will also achieve carbonation. Either they can add external carbon dioxide or they achieve it naturally, depending on various methods of making kombucha. Okay, it is actually quite a very nice drink. You have to be careful about the alcoholic content of kombucha. Please do make sure you check the alcohol content of kombucha when you buy it, if you do. Okay, as you can see in this picture, the top, that fleshy kind of thing that you see is the SCOBY that is fermenting that is sitting on top of the tea, and it is helping eat up the sugars in the tea. And you can also see pictures of the second level fermentation where they can add fruit flavors of various types. Here you need to know that the fruit is for flavoring and not for the nutrition. Another one along these lines is milk and water kefirs. Basically, quite like yogurt, milk kefir is made by adding a milk kefir grains to milk, obviously, and to let it ferment. While water kefir requires a different kind of fermentation grains, and these are very crystal-like and takes about 24, sometimes 48 hours depending on the temperature to ferment and form good water kefir. And basically they go by other names like Tibikos, California bees, Japanese water crystals. Sometimes the fermentation can require to be done for longer, and that is depending on one's taste of how vinegary one likes it. So in this, kefirs have actually been known to have a wide variety of bacteria, and some of the bacteria are lactobacillus, lactococcus, streptococcus, and leuconostoc. Okay, different strains of these bacteria can be found in this. On the right side of this image, you can see that is what milk kefir, and that's how milk kefir grains look. On the left side, the crystally ones are the water kefir grains, and you can see the fruit fermentation being done. I'd like to also run through one of my most favorite ones, which is called beet kvass. This was traditionally from Russia. It's almost 1,000 years plus that it is known to be made. The process requires beets to be fermented with salt, spices, and water. And because beetroot has many naturally occurring bacteria and yeasts in large quantity, lactobacillus, acetobacter, leuconostoc, gluconobacter, among many others. So these are the kind of bacteria which exist in beetroot already, and these are cultivated through the fermentation. Basically, it's very high in iron, magnesium, and other good nitrates, which helps detoxify the liver as well and build good gut bacteria. Now, taking forward this concept of beet kvass, I would like you to understand that there are many other naturally occurring bacteria in various fruits and vegetables. So whether it is the skin of beets or the rind of pineapple, tamarind pulp, the root of ginger, these all contain different types of bacteria and different strains of bacteria. And as you can see here, they can be made into different kind of fresh ferments. This is very different from the flavoring of water kefir and kombucha that is done, because here the base fruit or vegetable itself is fermented out and the nutritive value of the fruit and vegetable is fully extracted. We hope you really enjoyed this presentation. You can investigate other fresh ferments if you wish, things like miso, nemchua, dochi. There are many others. Kushak. I've just put a list in front of you. There are so many from Africa which I didn't put here because I couldn't even pronounce many of their names. I hope you like this session and are curious to investigate some of these things for yourself further. We learned a tremendous lot putting all that information together for you. Look forward to seeing you on our next video where we should try and cover some of the products we make, and we'll introduce you to some of them. See you.